In this video, we're going to be exploring 10 different ways to use Beam. Let's get into it. Number 1, Granular Textures. So to create this effect, I'll load in the grains effect into Beam, and I'm going to increase the rate and the size all the way up to their maximum values. Then I'm going to pitch this all the way up to 24 semitones, and I'm going to increase the spray and the width. And now all we want to do is just play with the mix control to get it to where we want it to sit in the mix. Number 2, Infinite Preset Generator. If you're someone like me who easily gets bored of a sound or wants to sort of breathe new life into either a preset or a patch in a track, this is a great way to completely reinvent that source. So using the Generate Preset button inside of Beam here, we get a completely different result each time with completely different effects. So let's get an example of what that sounds like. So it's instantaneous, there is absolutely no lag in generating the preset, and it's a really nice way if you want to add some ear candy into your track to completely change a patch for a new preset each time. Number 3, Shimmer Reverb. Now similar to number 1, we're going to use the grains node in a very similar fashion. We're going to increase the rate, the size all the way up, and the pitch is going to be again at 24 semitones with spray and width increased. But this time we're going to use the delay, and we're going to drag this XY for the low and high all the way to the top right corner. And now this is what it sounds like without the space node. And here's the before. And with. Now what we want to do is feed grains into a space node to put it into a big space, and we get this effect. Number 4, OTT Style Distortion. OTT is one of the most popular plugins that is native to Ableton, but it's also available as a third-party plugin. And what it does is it upwards compresses the signal. Now, this makes the audio more exciting and it really accentuates the frequencies. But if we use Volt, we get the same effect, but with some harmonic distortion, so we get a much fuller signal. So here's the before. So in a track, that would stand out so much more in a mix. What I've done is I've increased the charge here. The same thing that OTT does, where it upwards compresses the bands. I've also introduced a little bit of heat to fatten up the signal. And then I've played with the filter and the contour to shape the EQ side of the mix. Number 5, load custom IRs into the space node. Now this is one of my favorite features of Beam. If we dive into the space node IRs, we have all of these different folders, which in their own right sound fantastic, but it's as simple as grabbing a splice sample or a sample that you've recorded and literally dragging it onto the space vector here. Now I've got some samples that I've already imported, and you can really hear the character of those samples imparted onto the audio signal. So here's the signal dry. Now I'm going to use this Vox sample on that audio signal. We can also take this further by trimming the sample's length here, or time stretching it to make it longer or shorter, which affects the timbre of the audio signal. Number 6, break your drum breaks. So one of my favorite things to use in my tracks are drum breaks because they fit in so well in so many different genres alongside a existing drum groove. But one thing you can do using the time effect inside of Beam is change the break that you have to make it a little bit more in fitting with your track. Now here's the break that I had before I used the time effect. Now I've just used a preset for this example. As we can hear, it's reversing some parts of the sample, it's glitching some parts of the sample and affecting the duration and the stretch. But we can play with these parameters to completely break our drum break. Number 7, Widen mono sounds. I've got this mono synth plug here. Let's take a listen. And using haze, which is our free effect from Beam, I'm going to use it as a way to add chorus and widen that signal. I'm going to increase the spread and the scale to 50%, and I've dialed the mix all the way up with a little bit of frequency smearing. So essentially what haze is doing here is working as like a haze effect, where it's doubling the signal using modulation or very, very short delay. Number 8, make your one-shots tonal. If we dive into the space node and we head into the menu section here of space A, we want to scroll down until we hit tonal. Now all of these IRs are basically tuned to a key and also a harmony. So we have different key signatures and we also have different harmonies. We have major, we have minor, and using these on a sample can then take a one shot and make it a tonal element. So if we listen to this sample to begin with, it's just a simple rim shot, and I've loaded on a D minor 9 resonator. And now we have a completely total sample, but we still have the original sample to blend in on the mix control, and we get the best of both worlds. Let's take a listen to some of these other tonal IRs. Really powerful tool for sound designers and people who like to take samples and make them their own. Number 9, make pads and drones move. So in this case, my default is to just head into the sub menu of pad movement. And in this preset, I'm using the ringer preset. And let's have a listen to what it sounds like before we have Beam. And now with Beam activated. And finally, number 10, create Arps from nothing. So I've got this sample here and it's just a kalimba pluck. So using the grains effect, you want to use the ARP control and pick one of the many options that we have. I like to use major and minor, and again, you can play around with the pitch control here to affect which direction you want the pitch to go in for the ARP. So if we set it to 12, we'll hear that we've created an ARP from that kalimba one shot. We can pitch it up further, or we can pitch it lower. We can set the pitch to 0 and create the random mode here in the ARP setting, and it will completely do its own thing. So if you've got a one shot and you want it to be a little bit more musical, try using the ARP function instead of grains. Those were 10 different ways to use Beam. There's more to come. Let us know how you're using Beam in your productions, your sound design, your beats. We want to know. See you in the next video.